Hi, my name is Caroline Villemagne-Gamache, and I'm a level designer. Incursion is a single-player, third-person action-adventure experience that features both melee combat and environmental puzzles. In this video, I'm going to be talking about my design process, the level flow, pacing, and how I created different player experiences. When I began the project, there were 3 specific experiences that I wanted to create: intrigue, suspense, and power. To begin, I separated my level into 4 different areas: the cave, the maintenance wing, the access shaft, and the fighter bay. I then dedicated each area to portraying one of my intended experiences, while also teaching players new mechanics. The cave is the first area players encounter. It was the perfect place to make players feel the joy of discovering something new, as it was relatively safe and was chock full of interactive objects to teach players the basic mechanics. This is the area that received the most iteration, since I needed to teach players quickly and obviously. For example, in an earlier build, I introduced players to a basic environmental puzzle in a heated moment. When playtesting, it became clear that players didn't understand what was required of them. To fix this, I did a few things. Firstly, I sized down the door so it wouldn't fill the whole space. I also used lighting to brighten up the area and emphasize the focal point. This helped players identify the environmental puzzle. Then, I readjusted the cave area to incorporate the puzzle. This way players get to learn about it in a safer and more obvious way. Lastly, I made it necessary to overcome this puzzle. That way players will have gone through the motions once and know what to do when they encounter it again. These changes fixed the issues, and players could now figure out the problem to continue down their intended path. The maintenance wing is the next area. This area was essentially a training ground, with the difficulty getting progressively harder until it reaches a peak, the storage room. This final room challenges players to use all they've learned in order to continue. With waves of oncoming enemies, it's up to the players to stay alive long enough to take out the spawners. Players need to be quick with their lightsaber and their force abilities to get through this area, as enemies will seek to kill and disrupt their plans. Next is the access shaft, my personal favorite. This area turns down the action to instead replace it with suspense. While navigating through a dark maintenance hall, players must be alert to anything, as enemies will constantly ambush and surprise them. With a combination of careful enemy placement, audio cues, and making the player their own source of light, I was able to create a really tense experience. Lastly, the fighter bay is where players finally get to take on the Sith commander. This is a fight of power, testing the player's mastery of their force powers and melee combat. The battle becomes progressively more difficult as the boss activates more and more droid pods. In the end though, only a true force user may survive. To create the best possible experience, I spaced my beats and carefully controlled the pacing throughout my level. Specifically, I divided high-action combat areas with areas of puzzles and problem-solving. This kept players engaged while simultaneously allowing me to shape my intended experiences. It was by using iteration and pacing that I managed to refine my beats and level flow to create the Incursion experience. Party Crashers is a couch co-op multiplayer dungeon crawler with minigames. Put in the role of high school outcasts, players are tasked with crashing a party they weren't invited to. Players must work together to overcome dungeon obstacles and waves of enemies to fill their party bar. Once the party bar is filled, a minigame begins. Here, the tables turn as players must face each other to compete for first place. Once the minigame is over, players are rewarded based on their performance. The goal of the game is to collect the most amount of points by the time the team chooses to face the boss. As lead level designer, art lead, and project manager, I was responsible for a lot in this project. Specifically, I worked with 2 other level designers to shape experiences that remained unique to each designer's idea, yet stayed in line with the intended game vision. I also directed the level department's deadlines and meetings while creating 3 full-fledged levels that were used in the final product. As art lead, I oversaw the quality and implementation of all our art assets while ensuring they kept a specific look and feel to reinforce the desired art style. I was the sole person in charge of the artists, and so I had to manage their meetings, quality, specifications, and especially their deadlines. Essentially, part of my job was to manage the art pipeline. This ensured the game looked great and was completed on time. Lastly, with a team of over 30 people, I helped manage team meetings, deadlines, tasks, and more as project manager. Working together as a team was a great learning experience, and we are proud to have delivered Party Crashers. Thank you for watching my demo reel, and if you have any questions about Incursion or Party Crashers, feel free to contact me.